This is Tim Pyle, Executive Director of the International Paruresis Association. Thanks for joining us again for a video that talks about paruresis and things that we feel are really important for those who are suffering to know about. And today I'm excited to say that we have Dr. Stephen Soifer, who is the co-founder of the International Paruresis Association, to join us today. Dr. Steve, it is so good to have you with us.
Hey, Tim, how are you?
I'm great. If you don't know about Dr. Steve, he helped found the IPA 25 years ago. We're celebrating our 25th anniversary, and he is the primary author of The Secret Social Phobia. And this is really the premier work when it comes to talking about paruresis and methods to cope and improve your situation. So, Dr. Steve, thanks for taking time today.
Sure.
So if you look at really what we think of the top three methods, you have catheter, the breath hold method, and then what we're going to talk about today, which is cognitive behavioral therapy using graduated exposure. And so let's talk about the success rating in using graduated exposure.
CBT in general and exposure therapy in particular, depending on how you measure it, seems to help roughly 4 out of 5 people. My experience, just based on the data workshop analysis stuff, is that 90% or more folks are helped by CBT and graduated exposure in particular. The 10% or so that aren't, you can put them in a couple of categories. The most common one is a serious comorbid condition. So I've worked with people who've come to workshops who've actually had to leave because they've been so depressed that they can't work on their paruresis. They're so anxious that they can't work on their paruresis, or they're so drunk that they can't work on their paruresis. Really, a few people that over the years haven't responded well to CBT. We've been able to really help most people who come to us.
So today we're going to really break down what the method of graduated exposure is and how it works. And so I would think that the first step is to really think about what are the things that trigger my paruresis, or what's the underlying cause, so then we can be exposed to those things. Is that really the best first step?
It's in the book. I forget which appendix it is. And we also hand out, workshop book, and there's a page there where people create what is called their behavioral hierarchy. And basically there's steps from roughly 0 to 10, with 0 causing no anxiety and 10 being your worst nightmare scenario. And so we ask people at workshops, and I do this at individual sessions too, to create that hierarchy, usually specific to the workshop. Whatever practice scenarios there are there. And, a 0 or 1 for most people is sort of like being in their hotel room alone and having to use the bathroom. I mean, for most people, not everyone, but for most people, that creates very, very little anxiety, okay? An example of a 10 is, when we do the Detroit workshops, we often go to a Tigers game and, peeing at a urinal, and I don't know about what's Comerica Park, but certainly Wrigley Field in Chicago still has trough urinals. So, the idea of peeing next to a stranger in a crowded restroom during 7th inning stretch is probably a 10 for many people who come to the workshop. So, if we were doing a workshop where the last exercise, is a Sunday afternoon ball game or something, then the 10 is easy to imagine.
So here's a hierarchy that we share as an example in our workshop workbook that really shows, where you can start out. Number 1, you're out, the buddy is out in the corridor, and work your way all the way up until you and your pee buddy are right next to each other. So this is just an example that we share at our workshops. It seems that the best thing, though, is having a good starting point where you can be 95% successful, because then you're like, okay, I know I can go here.
Sometimes, and I'm glad you brought this up, I've had to have people start practicing with them in a locked hotel room by themselves with their practice partner in the lobby of the hotel, waiting for a phone call from the person that, yeah, they were able to go. The problem is if you don't get that first initial, and I mean, we tend to try not to use the word success, but if you're able to go that first time, then you're on a path to being able to continue your progress. On the other hand, if you have a setback and you're not able to go that first time, then you really are in a situation where you have to find baseline, and that can be difficult.
So let's give people some kind of nuts and bolts about how to actually do this. Let's say they are starting to work with a family member or a P buddy, and they know where they want to start and where they want to go to. Like, how do they actually do the practice?
So most people I find intuitively know what their hierarchical scale is, even if they don't write it down. And so, the most important thing is to start out, and we haven't mentioned this, fluid loading with water to get your bladder at a level 7 out of 10 urgency. And then to figure out where you need the other person, whoever they are, to be for you to be able to go into the bathroom and be able to pee for 3 seconds and stop. One person might tell me, well, I need you to be on the porch outside with the door closed, the front door closed, and I'm going to go into the bathroom and close and lock the door and try to go. I think I can do that. Someone else might say to me, oh, I can sit at the kitchen chair have you sit at the kitchen chair, and I'll go in the bathroom right here, and I'll leave the door open. And if this is the first time I'm working with someone, and I have no reason to believe otherwise, I say, that seems like pretty far along on the hierarchy there. You sure you're 95% certain you can go in that scenario? And usually someone will pause and go, maybe not. Why don't we try having you sit on the couch and I'll close the door and let's see if that works. I says, good, let's try that. So, I'm pretty careful to make sure that someone doesn't put themselves in a situation where they may fail that first time and not be able to go. And then it's simply a matter of bringing me closer and closer to that person in the bathroom to get to the point where I can probably be at the door and, well, it depends on how the toilet is oriented, but be at the door and they could go with the door open. Not with me looking at them directly, but either me behind them or in the door well, or whatever makes sense. That can take anywhere from probably 4 to 5 sessions to 100 or more.
Well, that was going to be my next question was, this is not the quick fix. This is not the, fast solution. It's about practicing and consistency. And I was going to say, how long might it take people to start being consistently successful?
Every person is different. And so in part, it depends on the severity of paruresis that they have. It also depends on which factor affects them the most. It's sight and sound that tend to be the major causes of discomfort for people. And I would say probably the majority sight, the whole visual privacy issue, and a significant minority sound.
So what we've been doing, especially in the last year and a half or more, is some virtual practice. I know wonderful support coordinator, Dave Kliss, has been doing this with people. Dan Rocker and I have been on virtual workshops. If, let's say, you are just trying to keep your practice going, but you're concerned about being out, or maybe this is some people have said working virtually or remotely is like the first thing that they've really been comfortable with. We've had folks attend the virtual workshop. They say, well, I don't think I could go to a live workshop. I might not be ready. So virtually, how would this work with a computer or with like a laptop or a tablet or a phone?
So, I'm FaceTiming or Skyping or Zooming with someone on the phone. And, I'll say everything I said earlier. And then what I say is, where do you need to put your device and have a 95% certainty you're going to be able to go? And just like I described before, the scenarios are, leaving I have an iPhone, leaving the phone on the porch, putting it on the couch, interestingly enough, either facing outward or inward, toward the couch, putting it on the chair here, or as we get into later stages of practice, got to get a little more creative, like putting the phone in the door well and having it faced, you sort of need a stand for it, but faced outward or faced sideways, or ultimately literally pointing at the person. And that is as real for most people as if I was standing there. Okay. So it's actually the same process. It's just using the phone or the iPad or the laptop as the surrogate for me being there.
Yeah, at the virtual workshops, what we found is there's another element of, do you want the phone muted so you can't hear the Peabody, or do you want it unmuted, or do I turn my sound down? So there's this sound element that kind of goes both ways. Well, Dr. Steve, it's always a privilege to be able to chat with you and work with you. And thanks for taking time today to just walk through the steps of graduated exposure and encourage people for this tried and true method of getting improvement in their walk with paruresis. So thanks for taking your time today.
You're welcome, Tim.
So if you'd like to get more information, please visit our website. It's paruresis.org. If you'd like to send a question to me or Dr. Steve, the email is getinfo@paruresis.org. And of course, we'd love for you to click the Donate Now button. With a gift of just $50 or more, you become a member of the IPA. You have access to premium resources that we have on our member site. And we'd love to hear from you. And thanks for taking the time to visit with us, Dr. Steve, and everybody out there in television land. We'll talk to you soon.